I don't know if you heard it, but Claude is now able to talk to different sessions. So if you have several sessions open and you open a new one, it can actually talk to the other sessions. Not only look up the content, but actually inject prompts into these running sessions. And that's really powerful. And for those who don't know, if you use Claude, all these sessions get stored locally on your device. They have all their own ID. That's when you say resume session, you were able to find these different sessions based on the IDs. And I used this already in the past to let AI look up any context from previous sessions. Now, if we can actually interact with these sessions from another session, this means that I could have finally one single session I'm in, and the rest is done by my orchestrator that I call Larry, that we will build in this video from the ground up in order to test the functionality if this is actually possible. So for those who are following me, you know that I use a folder called mypka, and in this folder there's a team of agents, and one is the Larry, the orchestrator, and he's orchestrating any work that I might have, 2 agents in here. And anything that we are working on is provided inside the deliverables folder. So this is a demo folder that we see here. And it's hard to keep track of all these things because working with AI, a lot of ideas come out of nowhere and you keep just creating new things to work on. And that's where in the team knowledge folder, there is a tasks folder where they organize themselves with these tasks. So you see there they open tasks, the tasks that are done based on date. And this is how, even if I close the session, the team was able to follow up what was done, what wasn't done, and to see what is still open and have the context inside the deliverables that is still working on. And that's the way how this works. Now, if we provide the session ID to a task and we ensure that each task is tied to a specific session, we will always have the full context and let then the main session interact with these sub-sessions without me reopening the session and working inside the individual tasks. And that's what I want to test in an empty folder. I call it Orchestration 2.0 that we will build up now from scratch using Claude. So I will first of all create some general folders. I say tasks and I say deliverables. And it's just a proof of concept that I'm building here now. And in task I will make done, in progress, and cancelled. All right, so we just use these 3 statuses in here, and this is it. So you see, these are all empty folders, and all I will do now, I will right click, say new terminal at folder, and start working on this folder with Claude. I figured out that you can actually now inject prompts into other running sessions. I want to take advantage of this and actually create a deliverables task management system where we have sessions that are working on deliverables for me that are organized by subfolders in this deliverables folder, and the tasks related to this deliverable in order to complete a deliverable are managed inside a dedicated tasks folder based on some status subfolders. Now the idea is to attach to the tasks the Claude session IDs, and I only have one single point of contact, one main session I'm talking to, and you organize all the tasks or all the sessions in between to keep me just updated and delegate to work over there. So therefore, I need an agent who is working with me as the orchestrator, the direct report, the personal assistant, and in these other sessions we should have actually project managers who are aware of the task content that is worked in there and makes decisions based on what the overall goal is of the deliverable. So is this something possible you could pull off? All right, and I set this as a goal The goal is achieved if you set everything up correctly inside this folder. It is a proof of concept that you are able to create this, and we will see actually these tasks appearing accordingly with the metadata in it. So the team always knows that this belongs to a specific Claude session that you are able then as the orchestrator to look into and follow up with, and just give me the small insights out of these sessions and take care of that these things get done. All right, I'm curious what this will come up with. All right, it started already to create some folders in here, and especially the CLAUDE.md file, which I'm very interested in to look into. This is the file Claude reads first the moment you assign a folder to Claude. Okay, so the moment you work inside a folder with Claude, it will seek out this CLAUDE.md file and read this first. That's something that we can take to our advantage, and that's what will happen here when we read this. It says here, this folder is a multi-session work system. So you see it's describing to Claude what this folder is all about. And then here's the idea. Tom talks to one session, the orchestrator. Every other session works a deliverable and reports upward. So now the important thing here, if you are a Claude session running here, these rules apply to you. And that's it. The shape of it, the deliverables, how the tasks work, and the different statuses, and then the rules. Every task carries the session that owns it. Session name, session ID, and so on. The folder is the status, not the front matter. If you or Tom drag a file in Finder, orgboard, and so on. So who am I? I love how this is already setting itself up. So here are the different roles in there, the orchestrator role and the deliverables PM, project manager, and a worker who is the agent who is actually inside this PM session. So this PM is this project manager will then report back to this orchestrator, and the orchestrator will report back to me if everything is working according to plan. It also created a new briefing section here. It created a typical .claude hidden folder. If you don't find this, it's Shift Command dot in order to show hidden files in your Finder. And you see it created already commands in here. So commands is something that you can have set / that you can actually trigger by using / and then writing down the command name. So if I open this command, this is what this will happen. So commands are just snippets of whatever is inside this MD file that you can just shortcut with the / command name, and it will actually send this as a prompt instead then, right? So there's no magic behind this. So what do we have? Check-in. So this is the script section, report up. These are the different steps to do. The orchestrator, and I'm sure that it will be the orchestrator. It will be also the orchestrator using these commands to talk to the other sessions. And that's really interesting. And here's one of the agents that he created. Again, it's just an MD file. And it just executes exactly one task. Okay. So in this setup, we are not using the sub agents that we use usually inside our folders and so on. And I want to keep the things very simple to show proof of concept. And then I can use this as an example to hand over to my Larry, who is the orchestrator in my whole life containing folder, and let him look at this to see how it could get integrated, or my actual folder can get rearranged in order to take advantage of this type of work. Now we see also in the task folder, there's a lot more now. There's a board. It has its own board here. We see probably here, yeah, it already added some mockup data. And here, definition of done. I like the orchestration here. And it's the README, also interesting for AI to read what this is all about, and explains the details about where to find a task, how it's organized. And that's the amazing thing about using AI inside a folder, because you see in real time how AI is actually working inside this folder. And here again, we have the deliverable and we have now tasks in here. So it seems that he's now applying actually tasks inside the deliverable. And he will probably explain to me why he does this in addition. And it might make sense to actually do only in the deliverables folders the task, so it's a contained entity itself, and the deliverable gets actually the session instead of the tasks. So it wants me now to open a new terminal on this. And now we should actually see how he finds this session and injects the prompt. Let's see how this works. Yeah, he found it. He's now recruiting it as a PM, as a project manager. And here we go. It's happening. He received this message from peer. So I can hit Command O to expand it. And that's what this session sent over. Start new course, and you're a project manager, your identity. So it hands in the first prompt. It delegates, all the instructions from these different deliverables. And now he initiated this session to work on this task. And it starts working. So he says here already the handoff worked end to end with no involvement from you. So, this could be a hidden, it's possible to run background sessions. So there's actually no interface. It's all running in the background. And that's how I could stay now in one session only. And he actually pulls off all these other sessions, which is a proper session. It's not sub-agents that you might have seen already happening here. That's a whole different way to work, because now I can dedicate individual sessions to specific deliverables or tasks. And that's not a question. I think we should actually connect deliverables to a session and track the tasks in there. What do you think? Should we actually link session IDs to specific deliverables instead of to specific tasks? This would make things more flexible. And then have the tasks actually inside the deliverables folder instead of a separate tasks folder. So therefore we have always contained deliverables that has everything in one place, so we know what this is all about. And a deliverable actually acts as a project in this way. And we might now rename the deliverables into a projects folder, which now makes then also sense to have a project manager being inside these folders. Now I'm curious. So here we go. It actually handed over another message that we see now with Control O. And here we go. There's where we can read all the content that he handed over. And this is working. But now I'm curious how he decides here, because I have a feeling that this might be the better structure. And if we look into the actual concept of the PK folder, how this would work now, we have also the deliverables folder, and in PKM we have a projects folder. So my life is based on key elements, topics, and projects. These are ongoing projects that I'm currently working on, or in this demo folder this demo account is working on. So it would make sense to somehow integrate this, but the key thing is not every deliverable is a project. There might be also deliverables that are related to a project. So renaming it to a project is a difficult thing to do, and I think this is not what we will go to, but a deliverable should be connected to a project, so it actually links back up to the goals that we have. So those who are following us know with ICOR, you set your goals, out of these goals you create projects, and projects are just containers holding the tasks that you work through in a sequential order to close the project and therefore achieve the goal. And that's what we need to keep here in mind, because right now the way I'm working, these deliverables are just listing up because it's random, it's some random research and things like that. But there should be always a feedback loop somehow to double check, is there actually a project that is related to the work that you're currently doing? Otherwise you're doing work that is not planned out, and therefore you might be wasting time on something that's not moving you forward towards your goals. And that's something that's currently missing inside the folder. That's something we teach inside ICOR, and that you are aware of when you follow these rules or these concepts and workflows, but the team is not aware of this yet. I have my own agents in here, like, well, it's a demo account, but in my folder, here, this is my folder. And if we go here to the team, there's one called Kiel. workstream guardian. He's actually double checking if this work is actually worth doing or is it actually distracting from my actually planned goals and projects. Yeah, he's probably disagreeing with the projects for the exact reason what I'm saying here now. Yeah, I don't think we should rename deliverables to projects. It makes no sense. And just keep it as simple as possible. Keep deliverables, but think about again the structure that I mentioned. So you see, I'm just shipping in more prompts while he's working on something else. This is cute. And the moment he's ready to ingest a new prompt, he will do it. And here we go. This is the work done by this other agent already. And that's a great thing. By let the system self-test everything, because here he figured out some issues that he now gave back as a feedback, and my main session can now pick up from, because as you can see here, waiting on orchestrators all clear to resume, and it should come from him and not from me. Now think this further, because now we're here in terminals, but we can just simply create an interface that shows then one session and all the sessions that get started out of this one session and all connected to the deliverables and everything. And that might be a new way to visualize the whole work with AI, that if the proof of concept works, would be one of the consequences. Yeah, he figured it out himself. He already moved all the tasks inside deliverables, and he says the second task tree at the root is the confusing thing. Here's now a deliverable.md. Let's see what is in here. Okay, that's what he delivered. He checked these boxes off. He added a lot more tasks. But look, this is full transparency now and easy for any AI now to follow up, to go into the folder and see the tasks that are done and those who are and those that are still in progress, and one that needs to be reviewed. See, I need to pick. So this is where then, one session would look into this, realize this is missing, and asks me then in a way that I can design that it's easy for me to understand, and then he can give my feedback back in a much more complicated way to the project manager, because the better the prompt they get, the better they will work. And that's why this intermediate step is worth it, in my opinion. So obviously, with all these back and forth and left and right, you could now argue we are wasting a lot of tokens. But I don't think so yet, because in the past I have seen this orchestration that we had so far implemented works very well and is very token efficient. And many things can run in parallel this way, that I'm not too worried that this new way of work would actually be an issue for the day-to-day work. And you see, it's all based on markdown files. It's all readable text. I can open these all up this way. And if this looks ugly to you, then ask AI to actually provide something that shows this in a formatted way. And now you see he actually received a new message where he says implementation is solid, and Doctor now also catches, so he checked the work and then he gives some feedback and creates even logs. So is the system ready to use? Okay, now he says it's not proven yet, alright, so because there was only 1 PM so far, so it's hard to say. So now I can say simulate a work across 5 different PMs with 5 different deliverables, like slide deck creation, website building, proposal creation, email follow-up, in order to show that you can actually do everything through this one session. And once you are done this, show me a final report on what this new system is capable of and what are the pros and cons of using this single session that we have here. Provide me this as a HTML file as one of the deliverables and open it up in Chrome. So now here you can see, I just skipped away because it was too fast. But you see here, this is the main session, and here you can actually see the other PM from this session was handing over its work and follow-up questions. So if we hit Command O again, Control O, you see what this session handed over, the status of the task and so on. So my main session is actually aware of the status right now. Now he's preparing the test. And you see, Here it picked it up, client proposal, email follow-up, fleet onboarding. And then we could even have name conventions where we have some date in front or in the dates in front to keep track of when it was created, or deliverables code where we have combination of numbers and letters to keep track of these things easier, even on a folder level to pick up again. These are things that I would do probably eventually, but again, for this proof of concept, we are doing great progress here. Makes here even now an artifact subfolder, and it is deliverable.md is what they need to deliver. It's not the deliverable itself. Makes all the sense, obviously. Or there's even an updates folder where the PM, I guess, reporting back so the team can keep track of this thing. And now imagine if everything looks the same and is consistent. This is the moment we can create interfaces that represent all this visually. And that's what I'm going for when I think this further. Here's the pitch deck. Great. So you see he launched now, background agents launched for all these deliverables here, and they're all running. And I assume that he's already doing this in the background because this one I launched myself, but here, oh, he launched actually several sub-agents where I'm not sure if this, of those, let's see, if we click, because if you have sub-agents, you can click into it to see what they're actually working on. Aha. So now he's actually launching sub-agents instead of actual sessions. Now I will ask him why. Why do you actually launch sub-agents instead of actual sessions? If you don't want to launch sessions in a terminal, you can always run the session as a background flag, right? Having the sub-agents showing up in here, that might be confusing for me and for you working forward if we work on a lot of different deliverables asynchronously, because if we close this main session, I still want the other sessions to keep working on these things, and I should be able to create a complete new main session to pick up the work from scratch. And that is the issue using sub-agents, and that's exactly what we want to avoid by building this proof of concept working in a new way with Claude. So I'm curious now. All right, at least he recognized it. Now he got, ingested again a message from this one. And that's where I wonder if one session can really handle all the different contexts. But that's why it's crucial that this becomes a real orchestrator session and the others are focused on their work. So they are just tiny things to follow up. But then we should see over time that these two keep working autonomously with each other. See, that's what I mentioned with the background. So if you launch Claude with these two hyphens BG, it launches the session in the background in a headless state. Let's see what happens if we do this. See, now I launched a new session in the background, and I can say stop the session because it's a session ID here. So in order to get rid of this, not confuse anyone, we stop now the session again. But you see that's a headless session that's running in the background, and that's what we want to achieve here. Okay, he ran this shell command. You can always click on this to see the details. And here you see that's what he ran. He just the first thing is that he started inside this folder. So he moved the terminal into this folder. And the second one is that he started Claude in the background and some additional flags here that we don't need to want to dive deeper into, but that's what he's checking now if this is working. In the meantime, all the sub-agents stopped, finished their work, so we should actually be able to see some results here. Here's the proposal. Let me see, pitch deck, if there's anything. It's just the outline for it. Yeah, and that's the thing, now the work gets lost, but that's where we have these tasks in, so we see what's done, what's still in progress, what we need to review, and that's then possible for AI to pick this up again from where it was left off. And that's exactly the way how I worked with AI in the past, and now using sub-agents in this proof of concept makes no sense at all, because this would be exactly what I have right now. Instead, I wanted to properly work across different sessions. Okay, he figured out that there are some issues, so he's now recognizing he needs to run outside the sandbox. Give him some more time. Okay, it seems I gave him the wrong route to background. It uses now the headless version, which is the P. And then we need to ensure that this actually becomes consistent, because with the flag P, these are usually just one-off quick sessions to ask one question and get a response, and then it will close itself again. And that's where there's also another flag to keep these open. So I'm curious if he will figure it out himself or if I need to point him towards this. So I said no need to write a report because she wanted to write a report. Let's do it properly first, delete the deliverables and start the test from scratch. So I can hit escape to interrupt him working on whatever he was doing and then let them do the work. All right, now he figured it out. He actually launched now real sessions. They're all running now. And there's nothing in here, and you see here are the messages that he's sending. And here's already the feedback coming in from the other sessions. So PM web, which is probably this one then. And I guess others will come back too. And that's where the magic happens now. So I could go away and all these different sessions start now talking to this one session. And based on what instructions I give this session, it could act in my name and make decisions in my name as my personal assistant, updating and delegating the work to the PMs, unless there's really something very critical where I could then think about an escalation path to reach me even via iMessage or WhatsApp or whatever, where it needs to get some feedback. So I can really focus just on this one session and whatever. And the other thing is, whatever I have now, I could now throw into the session, like a screenshot to create a journal entry, many things that I find along the way. And this is now a true orchestrator launching sub sessions that I would actually start myself in order to work on the different topics myself. And that's where I had 10, 20 different tabs open or terminals open at the same time to work on different things at the same time and losing track and overview of all these different sessions. And that's where either you have to strip this down so you can stay focused on what you're working on inside a session, or we have something like this that could now take over to keep track of everything that is going on right now and the things that really need my attention. So I think there's a huge potential here. And if you want to see what I keep building with this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join us in my ICOR, because there's where I will provide the outcome of this too. So you can download this and start using it for yourself. And obviously our whole my ICOR, my PKA folder is also available inside my ICOR for free. Let me also know in the comments below if you figured this out already. Maybe you have a different version of this and what you think about working this way with AI. I'm really pumped because I feel there's now the next iteration coming when it comes to working with AI. And I cannot wait to test this out in more detail. I catch you up in the next one.